Welcome everyone to the Radiant Leader Summit. I am super excited to have my dear friend Natasha. You are one of my favorite humans on earth. I met you in Costa Rica at a retreat center, and we were doing the same retreat. And I talk about this a lot, and actually everything I do is to consciously choose friends. And I remember seeing you and listening to you and going like, I want to be her friend. And we've been friends ever since. It's like over a year now. And you're this self-proclaimed philosopher and belief redesign guide. And today's topic is all about remove suffering and live well, fulfilled, and on purpose. And I think we all need more of that. And so I can't wait just have a fun informal talk with you. And you helped me when I was at times when you met me, I was like really at my lowest. And you would look at me and you give me one of the nicest compliments I think any human has ever given me in this lifetime so far. And it was, JD, I see your light. And it's like, wow, I'll never, ever, ever forget that. And it's like, can you imagine a world where we just go around and we remind each other of each other's light? So grateful you're here, Natasha. And yeah, I welcome you to introduce yourself in your own words and what you want to share with the audience today.
Thank you. First of all, I don't know how much of this you hear. Here is like really raining in Costa Rica at the moment. Wow. I'm so happy to be here with you and to just have this conversation. For me, meeting you last year and like observing your light, it was one of the nicest moments and most beautiful moments. This is one of the blessings I I enjoy when I see people, when I see through people's, you know, beliefs, or through people, through all of us, even through mine. When we see through what is there, patterning, conditioning, and we see really the light that we are, um, it's really a blessing. So happy to be here um, and have this conversation with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what a gift, like I think we all need coaches who help us, shift. I was in a time and you would just say a few things to me. Hey, did you think of it like this? Redesigning some belief systems, and how limiting that is for us. And to have hold people, like be each other's mirror of light. I see your light, but maybe I don't see my own. And you reminding me, hey, look and see your own light, or hey, have you thought of it like this? Or and Costa Rica is a magical country and a lot of people are drawn there. And yeah, I tend to have a lot less suffering in my world when I'm in a higher vibration and when I'm feeling good and in a really, when my nervous system is relaxed, just specifically in that country. I'm like literally creating a retreat center there. Um, and you're from Greece. You're representing Greece for me. I'm trying to find these conscious coaches from around the world, and you're representing Greece, but we're tend to be drawn to the same vibration of places and people. And so yeah, what can you share about really removing suffering in our
Mhm.
world, living on purpose and feeling
Yes.
more fulfilled?
Yes. Well, I think that's the question of many of us, if not most of us, at some point in life, right? And it's funny that you say, Greece and Costa Rica, because for me, being here is, I mean, in Costa Rica has been such a nurturing place, combining green and nature, and also kind of like hosting me, who I have Greek influences through Greek philosophy and how I grew up, and the knowledge and the gnosis and everything that I gained throughout the years living in Greece and learning about certain methods of how to, and philosophies on how to really live well. And I think that's the topic that I would love to explore today, and for people who listen to us to kind of like, get gain from, like how can we master the art of living well. And suffering and inner suffering is something that we all experience, because life is this beautiful paradox. And we reach at the point in life that we realize that it doesn't have to be that way. We don't have to suffer. Pain is in the menu for sure, and it's healthy to experience pain, to experience our emotions, to experience all the span of our emotions. However, we do not have to suffer. So what I would love to explore with you on this conversation, and for people who are listening and who are watching, is what are these elements in between the suffering and the art of living, like the living well on purpose and living a life that is supporting our potential. And what can we do about it? Because we can definitely do something about it. We can definitely shift to that place, that from suffering to that space of living well.
Teach us your childhood and Greek philosophy ways. I'm super curious to learn. What did you learn as a child about this?
Well, one of the things that I really learned is that our mind is a friend. Usually we have a strange relationship with our minds, because we don't really know what it is. We hear many voices, pointing this way, that way, telling us what to do. At some point, being a little bit critical, judgmental, then soft voice, harder voice. So we're a little bit confused on how we relate to our minds, how to relate to the voice within us, right? So one thing I learned is that really our mind and our ability to think, which give us the capability to logic, is our gift. And it is in our capacity to build that relationship through cultivating logical thinking, and really understand how we can collaborate with the mind. So that is one thing, and this is everything about, like, Greek ancient philosophers talked about, like how can we use our mind to help us understand our soul, to help us allow our feelings. It's a very different perspective to living mentally. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about allowing our mind to guide us through this experience that we're having, this human experience that we're having, through our perspective. So yeah, that's a very significant thing. So I was really, really passionate about the mind and what really blocks us from having unlimited perspectives, what really blocks us for having perspectives that serve us rather than limit us. So there comes, there we enter other, let's say, areas, other disciplines. And I would love to talk about them as well.
Yes, I hearing you, I remember when we spent like a good month together at the retreat center. And I would always be so curious. I was like, "How was your day?" And you're like, "Oh, I was at the river and in contemplation." And you would spend hours. And I'm like, "What is this word contemplation?" I come from the belief of meditation, quietening the mind, purifying the mind. And you were always like, "Oh, you're a philosopher and I'm not that." And it was like, what are you thinking about? What is the brain? What is the mind helping you with? So yeah, I would love to learn more about that.
Wow, that's a beautiful question. Thank you for that. I would say that contemplation, let's say, lies in the middle between meditation and focus, right? And like really, really focusing on something. So, like for example, you can say meditation and martial arts. And there in martial arts, you are focusing on something, right? You have a goal. And meditation, as you said, you're like observing the mind. You are like allowing it. Contemplation is a practice that somehow lies in the middle. In Greek, we use the word syllogismos, which basically means that we work in partnership with logic. So working in partnership with logic, which is contemplation, is really about allowing the mind to just speak, connect with us, and at the same time bringing conscious awareness to it and asking questions to whatever comes. So it's like, okay, I am having this, and I'm going to bring like an example that many of us face. I'm having this challenge with, with my work, or, I want to grow my work more, or I want to have better relationships, or whatever. I want to have a healthier lifestyle, whatever challenge we're facing, right? And we bring it into a space of contemplation, and we just allow the mind to present us what it has in there, and we stand in curiosity with what it says. And we kind of like create a relationship of, okay, so you feel that um, I'm having this challenge right now, and you think that we can solve it in this way. But what about this? Are you sure this is true? Are you sure that this is the way? This is why we're having this issue? What other solutions could we think about? Is there a belief that is preventing us from having what we want? Or like, is there something from our childhood we should go into and explore? So it's more like creating an environment of love, compassion, acceptance, forgiveness with your own voice, inner voice. And to me, that is the art of that practice, that we are sitting with all the voices that may come up, and we find the way to communicate with them. We somehow make like dialogue with different parts of ourselves. And sometimes the parts that come up are critical. Sometimes the parts that come up are sensitive and wounded. Sometimes the parts that come up are like angry. We are growing the capacity within us to connect with this part. So yeah, so it can be a practice that it can like, it can absorb, it can be quite absorbing, self-absorbing.
Yeah, it's like never ending, really. And you're talking about
Yes.
these inner voices, these inner parts of us. But then how do you decipher? Because I'm the whole advocate for slowing down and connecting to our inner wisdom. And for me, I'm more clairaudient, so I'll hear messages. So what's the difference between the intuitive message and the parts of us that are trying to have a voice? Like, how do you decipher and how do you feel the differences?
Beautiful question. So that's That is a great question, because in the beginning you cannot. In the beginning, it is very confusing to do that. It is through practice of self-awareness and self-compassion and self-acceptance and actually embodiment of your own emotions that you are able to sense through your own feelings what is an intuitive message and what is a message from a part of yourself or a part of your ego. That is, that wants to kind of like come through and talk to you, which is of course welcome, because it is a part of you, even, because the ego is necessary for us to survive. However, it's not necessarily the right voice that you should listen in order to make a choice or a decision, right? So I would say that it's a practice, and the way that you understand that you distinguish is by practicing sensing it. I mean, well, like it's a different sense of knowing something intuitively and understanding when something comes from the ego. When something comes from the ego in the body, it feels limiting. You feel a sense of restriction. Whereas the other, when it comes from your intuition, you feel a sense of liberation, a sense of like joy, a sense of fulfillment. And I can say confidently by now that when you really practice with your courage to understand all these voices and to love all of these voices, because they are inside of us and we have to love them. Whether it is our ego parts or it's our intuition, when we love them, it's really beautiful to see how clear it becomes, because they relax, they have a different voice. So the angry ego part doesn't anymore come and say, oh, I'm angry, I want to do this, or you are like that. No, it comes like it has a different sense of communication with you, because it is allowed to be.
It doesn't have to scream anymore. It can just,
Exactly.
yeah.
It doesn't have to scream anymore.
Yeah, if we just hear it. It's interesting. Throughout today, I've spoken a couple times about just the inner child, listening to that inner child who is so that inner self, inner younger self that has a lot of wisdom, and it comes out and we react with it, and it creates suffering, definitely. Or we're so reactive to that.
Yeah.
To those patterns and old beliefs that no longer serve us. I imagine that is a huge creation of our suffering, just our own beliefs about ourselves even.
I mean, our beliefs, and this is really the work that personally helped me or assisted me to really free myself from this concept of suffering. Because for me is a really, it's a perspective that we unconsciously choose. No one wants to suffer. No one wants to suffer. However, unconsciously, we choose it. And why I'm saying that? Because we haven't been trained, or we haven't been educated in our, at least many of us in the standard education system, how to approach ourselves, how to approach our thinking, what is our thinking, what is our mind. So we don't have the knowledge even to, and the tools to be able to understand why we are having these voices, why we are feeling these emotions. because emotions and behaviors and thoughts cannot exist within us if they don't have some sort of space to hold. And the place that they hold is our beliefs. They hold on to our beliefs. And if our beliefs are limiting beliefs, then that's how we live, and that's how we unconsciously choose our suffering, because we don't know how to free ourselves from those beliefs that are deep programmed in our subconscious or even unconscious part of the mind. So there are certain techniques, there are many techniques to access those. And to me, the first step to do this work is to be open to it, to be, to be willing to step into this journey and develop trust in the miracle that we are, to develop that trust that, the human body and the human mind has so much ability to self-heal, not just like any sort of disease, but like physical disease, but anything that comes from conditioning or anything else that is blocking us. We have the ability to do that. It's just like finding the tools and the way to access it. And I think that right now, and I hope right now, as we develop as a species, we find more ways to do that more, to access that more, our ability to access that potential that we have.
Do you have like one of your favorite tools that you can share, just to be more specific, so I understand more of how we can reprogram these unconscious beliefs?
Sure. Well, I use a variety of tools. One of my favorite tools that I work with clients on a one-to-one basis is a really transformative method called Psyche, which is basically all about redesigning beliefs. We really using kinesthetic methods, a combination of kinesthetic methods, subconscious mind, and talk therapy. We somehow and following a certain protocol, we redesign and we reprogram beliefs, limiting beliefs. So that is one kind of way, that kind of process. But in order for everyone who kind of listens to us now, I can share two very simple questions that we can ask ourselves whenever we have a challenge, right? So it goes like that. So let's say that we are facing a challenge. It can be anything, right? A situation, let's call it a situation. We are in a situation that is challenging. So the first thing I do, and the first thing to do, is to write down what is that situation. Let's say I am not taking any action or deliberate action to pursue what I want to do. Or, I notice myself pursuing or looking for romantic partners that are emotionally unavailable. It can be and ending up being hurt, or like perpetuating relationships that challenge me. It could be anything, okay? So you write down the situation, and then you take a piece of paper and you write this question. What would I have to believe is true about myself, relevant to the situation, that think or feel the way I do? So what do I have to believe is true about myself, relevant to the situation, that makes me think or feel the way I do? And there could be a lot of things come up there. So for example, if you are like, let's take the first example. I'm not taking any deliberate action or committed action on the things that I want to do, right? You can write, okay, what would I have to believe is true about myself that is relevant to this, that makes me think or feel the way I do? Okay, I'm going to limit myself and have more responsibility. I will not have time for myself. I will fail. People will ridicule me. So you write all the things that you think that you would have to believe in yourself in order to think that way. So you write these things and then you're like, okay, is there another belief below that is reinforcing all those beliefs? And then you can really, go deeper into that. You say, it could be as far as like, oh, actually, I feel that I'm not worthy of having what I want. Or something like that. Another question that adds to that would be, if I actually allowed myself, or if I actually chose to be that person that I really prefer to be, what am I most terrified that might happen? Because there's so many times that we're not doing something or we are trapped in something because we are afraid of what would happen if we allow ourselves, if we let ourselves free. So just starting with these really two basic questions and really gaining some self-awareness and being honest with ourselves. What is it there? And through this practice, of course, a lot of emotions will come up. And it's an invitation for us to witness ourselves in those emotions and start becoming in touch of our emotional expression. In the beginning, we may avoid your emotion or we were going to, stop writing. Just witness what we're doing and then come back to it again next day. Maybe next day we sit down and do it. Maybe not. So that is why I'm saying the first step is that willingness, that openness, that desire, that want to free ourselves from that construct that we have created or we have been exposed to, because it's not really our fault. We're just unconsciously choosing it.
Yeah, it's like a sweet, innocent curiosity about ourselves.
Right.
And yeah, because you're the like really the only person I know that would just be like, oh, I'm gonna go be in contemplation right now. And it's like, what is that? And I'm like, what is she doing? What's going on in her brain? And I'm trying to like purify my mind. And I hear like you're curious about them. And are these kind of the types of questions you'll ask yourself during your times of contemplation?
Yes, they are types of questions that I do ask myself, especially when I when I recognize being in a challenging situation, usually feeling overwhelmed by my own emotions. And I now know that this overwhelm is not for me to panic. I have now, through this practice all over these years, I've learned that I'm not going to panic. It's for me, it's a signal, it's a message for me to go within and see what is behind that so I can help myself heal, so I can help myself find more clarity, find more connection with myself. So this is, I'm not going to say is something that happens from one day to another, because we cannot, in the beginning, we cannot distinguish our emotional, when we are emotional, our emotional self from our rational self. We cannot distinguish. We think we are our emotions, but we're not. Our emotions exist and they are amazing and we have to feel them. But while we feel them, we can use them. We can use them exactly. And especially, I want to say something about intuition. Exactly, for me, intuition is the result of listening to my emotions and understanding their message. Because intuition, like our higher self, is, if our intuition is our connection to our higher self, talks all the time, has been talking all the time. It has always been there, even when we were fully conditioned, we were suffering. It has always been there. The thing is that we didn't have the capacity, the capability, the skill yet to listen to it. We thought that it was something else. We couldn't listen to it. We couldn't feel it. So it is that, it is that moment, that intimate moment, that intimacy. I feel that we ought to build with us, with a part of us, in order to be able to gift ourselves to the world, to show up in a relationship, at work, at everywhere. Otherwise, we're going to always show up with parts of us that are not heard, don't have a place. Yeah. So that is, for me, what contemplation offers: a sense of loving curiosity and order, even a system for me to love myself, to accept myself, to listen, to dialogue, to be, and to connect with myself and everything around me.
Yeah, that sounds so lovely. And you talk about the word fulfillment, to be fulfilled. How do you define that? What does that look like for you, to be fulfilled in life?
For me, fulfillment, I would say it feels like finding the courage to believe in your dreams and go after them. Fulfillment is when you are driven by intention. And intention, in Greek, actually, intention, it combines passion and logic together. The word that signifies intention in Greek is the combination of passion, like our inner drive, because passion drives us. You know, our desire, our burning desire drives us. Passion combined with a rational, a well-examined mind, a well-examined logical mind, paired up together and acting with intention to manifest the unique role that each of us came here to fulfill. So once we find the courage, access the courage to go after that unique role that we came here to fulfill, we automatically become fulfilled, because that's the reason we chose to came here.
Mm-hmm. I love that.
Yeah,
What
it's
other
cool.
is there anything else in your Greek country and childhood philosophies that you learned as a kid about eliminating suffering? Any kind of
Yes, there is one thing I briefly mentioned it so to you this word, and I would love to mention it here. It's one of my favorite words. It's called eudaimonic living, eudaimonia. Eudaimonia means it's made from two words, actually quite when you hear that, it's like, okay, what does this mean? Eudaimonia, which means you, like evdaimonia, it's in Greek, it means good spirit, eudaimonia. In ancient Greece, before Christianity and before religion, oh,
wow.
wow,
There's
what happened?
I don't know.
Zoom,
Fireworks.
yes.
Fireworks, your energy is just boo boo boo. You
Okay,
talk about this bird and I don't know, the Greek
I don't
gods.
know what happened.
The
Okay.
Greek gods are so happy you're talking about this Greek
Oh,
word.
yeah, exactly.
I've never
I'm
seen
sure.
that before.
Yes, okay, they're happy now.
So
So
happy.
before like, all religion, like when in Greece they were talking about the 12 gods in Olympus and all this kind of stuff, when philosophers were living, a demon was just a good spirit. It didn't have, never had the connotation of something bad. Okay, it was just a spirit. It was actually a messenger. It was the messenger between the gods and the humans to communicate. So the idea of eudaimonia is to live in good spirit. And this is like the foundation of what Aristotle, which is one of the greatest Greek philosophers, talked about. One of the things he talked about is about, and he literally explained everything about how to live in good spirit. And the way, and which means how to live a life on your full potential, living your highest potential, being prosperous and flourish as a human being, okay, on purpose. So, and that was like 3,000 years ago that they were talking about this stuff. And his way of, and I love that, his way of expression about attaining this type of state of being, because eudaimonia, it's not a type of happiness, it's kind of a state of living, a state of being, a state of existence, right? Is cultivating virtue and finding and cultivating virtue has to do with gnosis, so studying what is virtue, working with your logic, growing your rational thinking, doing shadow work basically, and finding your hidden parts, your shadow part, your inner child. That's what they meant with learning about the self. And on the other hand, on an additional part, to practice ethical virtue. And ethical virtue in ancient Greek meant really to find the middle path into extreme situations. Like, for example, we talked about proudness, we talked about magnanimity, generosity, honesty, authenticity, things that characteristic virtues, virtues of character that you can only pursue by practice. So you can, in the same way that you can swim by swimming, the only way you can become generous is by doing generous deeds. The only way that you can become a person who has a big soul and like kind and is like understanding is by doing actions that are of that show your big heart and big soul. So for me, that has been a very significant kind of like inspiration and understanding that it's a part of inner work, and it's that relationship I talked about, which I use through contemplation, my relationship with myself, with my mind, with my emotion, with my behavior, like to know more about that. And the other thing is to practice and to autocorrect myself, to catch myself when I'm not generous, when I'm not honest, when I'm betraying myself, when I'm acting from my ego, and say, okay, it's fine. It happened. Next time you can do better.
And having
So,
compassion, having that compassion for those parts,
yes,
all the different parts of ourselves. They don't have to scream. It's just like, I see you. I see you. So I see your light. If we look in and say that, I see your light. I see your light. Eh? Yeah.
absolutely. So that has been a really, this is something that is my bigger vision in life, to spread that practice further on and see how we can build systems around it, that we can actually make it practical for people to live the art, to make the art of living well a practice. So yeah, very, 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 very inspiring and significant things that we can, I think, focus on and really, really find compassion and hope for our for humanity, really,
Yeah.
To to grow that humanness in ourselves, to grow that ethical part of us, that morality, that kindness. We all have that. We are we are born we are born with that capability. We just need to know how to practice it so we can become virtuous characters and better human beings.
Well, you have an amazing mission, Natasha. The world definitely needs you. And I love, you know, having a philosophical friend and who really helps me. And I think we all need those friends and coaches. I'm sure the clients you work with have huge belief, you know, shifts. And it's like, really, how different our life can be with just a perception shift. So yeah, is there anything, how can people find you, if you want to be found, to
Of
work
course,
with you? Like, yeah, say anything you like about, any last comments to the audience?
first of all, thank you for your amazing questions. I totally appreciate people like you who have it's a skill to ask great questions. It's really a skill. So thank you for cultivating that skill and asking great questions, because it's the beginning of everything. Good questions is the beginning of everything, is the beginning of that freedom that we're all looking.
Well, you reminded me of a chapter I actually wrote in my book, and it's called "It's All in the Question." And I write
Yes.
just about that, the importance of questions. And I do this kind of, I don't do the contemplation as much as you, but at the end of the year, I do a nice year review of lessons I've learned, because sometimes I'm like, nothing happened this year. Then I sit back and it's like the new friends I have, the books I've read, the lessons I've learned, the growth it's like we don't stop and reflect enough on our life. But I do it at the end of the year. I do it at least once a year. But yeah, it's about questions. The more we ask questions, the more answers we're going to get to guide us to a fulfilled life, I believe. So yeah, I like it's yeah, I'm a very curious person, and I'm very curious about other people's reality. I feel like we all live in our own reality. It's like, what's Natasha's reality? Like,
Right.
it's very different than me, than mine.
And curiosity is beautiful. It's beautiful. It's Thank you for that. Thank you for being curious. So you can find me on Instagram, Freedom with Natasha. That's my Instagram handle. And also on an email, if someone wants to share like a long form or anything, wants to contact me for coaching or anything, it's natasha.athanasiadou, which is my surname, at gmail.com.
Nice. Do you want to spell your last name just to make sure everyone
Yes, so
or just
Natasha is, yes, so my name is Natasha, Natasha dot Athanasiadou, which is, I'm gonna put it here, is Athanasiadou
at
at
gmail.com?
gmail.com.
Amazing. Well, I'm so grateful for your time today. I'm so grateful that our paths crossed. We arrived on the same day and we're still in Costa Rica at that retreat, and we're still in contact. And I just hope to do more lives with you talking about this Greek philosophical wisdom that you hold. You're this wisdom keeper and such a beautiful soul, and I'm so grateful to know you. So thank you so much, Natasha, for being here today.
Thank you, sweetheart. Thank you for believing in your dreams and working towards your own path and your, fulfilling all the magic that you're here to do and gifting us with all that magic. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Talk to you again.
Talk to you again.